It's Saturday morning, just after 9, and that means it's time for the 2018 edition of the Bendigo Bank Footy Show. In a tradition that dates back 30 years, created by the legend, the doyen and the voice of local footy, Andrew Topun Kelly, it's time to get off the bench, pull up the socks and pay attention. Because here's your host, Neil Custerson.
Good morning everybody and welcome to the RPP Footy Show, once again proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. On today's program, our special guest will be Brett Lovett, who'll join us later on the show to talk about the Freeze the MND campaign that he's involved with. We'll also talk to the Pines coach, Paddy Swain, and also Jamie Molo from Red Hill. And it's now time to introduce, obviously we'll start with you, Blackers. Good morning.
Yeah, what a great, it's going to be a great weekend, isn't it? A couple of games today and a couple of games on Sunday.
Absolutely, mate. Kevin Miles.
Neil.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Yes, it's going to be a ripper day. Another nice day, beautiful winter's day for footy.
Indeed, mate. And Simon McAvoy, welcome.
G'day, Neil and the boys. Yeah, good to be back. So looking forward to another great round of footy.
And how's Simon Scoops going?
Yeah, managed to unearth a bit of footy news again this week. There was high excitement down at Sorrento last week when the appearance of former NBA star Andrew Bogut. He was at the club's luncheon last week and he agreed to actually speak in the rooms to the players before the game, and it was a real highlight for the players. A lot of the Sorrento players are avid NBA fans, and they hung on every word that Andrew Bogut spoke to them, and it went really well. So, of course, Bogut, he used to play for the Golden State Warriors, who are involved in the NBA finals at the moment. He's played alongside Steph Curry, and he even played alongside LeBron James at the Cavaliers. And it all went really well. Luke Tapscott actually said to Bogut afterwards, he said, is our locker room similar to an NBA locker room in America? And he said, absolutely. Bogut said he loved the smell of deep heat. So,
The liniment smell.
Loved the smell, yeah. But, so it went really well. He had to duck down when he went through the door. He's 212 centimetre tall.
Is that 7 feet?
And that was a great win by Sorrento against Edith Vale.
Yep.
I think Edith Vale's list is as good as
what's
they've
going
got,
around.
Yeah, in this competition.
Yeah, they reckon Corp played his best game for the season. He caught everything and kicked 4, so he was very good for them.
And Dawes also was back as well.
Yep.
I think he kicked 4 in the first quarter, Simon.
Definitely. But, of course, today it's a real test. Sorrento have got YCW down there. So Frankston YCW, they're trying to avoid a 4th straight loss, which is very unusual for them. They're such a strong side. So really a big test for the Stone Cats today. They've been depleted with through injury. They're going to get a few back today. They've got Brenton Credland coming back into the side today. He's been playing at Richmond in the VFL. Cody Hanness, Bailey Angwin and Lockie Wallace is going to play today. So they'll make a difference, but will it be enough to beat a red-hot Sorrento?
Do you reckon they've ever lost 4 in a row since they've been in First Division? Like, they've always been... I don't think they've ever been any worse than 5th or 6th since they've been in that comp.
Well, it's a great question to ask, because it'd be a good statistic to find out. We might ask Rainman later, Michael Voss. I think he's the one who has all those statistics.
Well, he's had a few other things on his mind too, I think, lately.
Apparently he's been on the hot dog business.
Well, rumour has it, when he joins us later this morning...
Is that true, what happened last week?
Well,
we'll ask him.
We'll have
Is
to
it in
ask
pot shots, Simon?
We might have to make sure it's in pot shots next week, I think. Yeah, but still at YCW, they've been so depleted through injury, they actually had to bring Lou Roberts out of retirement last week. He's coaching the reserves, but he hasn't
Michael
played.
Chaplin played in their senior.
Michael Chaplin played again in the
and
ones.
wouldn't have played a senior game for a long time.
Yeah, and those two guys, they played really well apparently, but so it's desperate times for the Stone Cats. But there is light at the end of the tunnel for them. They've got Wayne Cap, their coach, says round 11 is when they're going to get all their guys back. They're going to get Ash Eames back then, Josh Patello, Scott McLeod, and even Luke Painter, who hasn't even played this season. He might come back as well. So that round 11's the one after the break.
Yeah, well, we've got the split round starting today, so we've got it's the RPP match of the day. Is Sorrento hosting the return bout from round 1.
Well, the tables I think will be turned today.
Well, Sorrento have been in red hot form, as we know, fellas, and you'd like to think, 3 losses in a row, as we said, Kev. We'll ask Rainman later. I reckon he'll know how long it's been since
Well, it certainly will
since
be
YC's lost 4 on the trot.
it'll be a long road back to get a double chance. Because, because Mount Eliza, Edith and Serrano are all going well.
Yeah, well, they are.
And the other form side at the moment is Pines.
Yeah.
And Paddy Swain, and we'll talk to Paddy, but he always said to me that their second half of the year is going to be better than their first half of the year.
Well, geez, how was last week with Lacey 13
Well,
to Aaron Edwards, mate?
It does make it makes it a bit easier as a coach when you've got a bloke down there clunking them.
He's kicked 20 in 2 rounds, so
Yeah.
I reckon you'd be absolutely just turning up going, mate, how good is this? So,
Well, I've got a bit of news on the Aaron Edwards 13-goal haul. There was a bit of a twist to it. 2 days after it happened, he had a goal taken off him. It seemed that on the video he kicked 12. He didn't kick 13, and all the Pines boys' fingers were pointed at team manager Andy Payton, who apparently can't count.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Aaron will take 12, I'm sure.
the old dozen.
Yeah.
That's a good day out, isn't it, in anyone's own language?
So he's only kicked 19 in 2 weeks.
So they referred to the video.
Apparently, I think
Because the good old days, whatever the team manager put down, he put down.
that's it. Yeah, I think he was down as kicking 13-4, so he's now kicked 12-4. But anyway, we move on, don't we? But and still on YCW, they're going to have a good recruit, a star recruit in possibly round 11. Khan Haratuku
Oh, yeah.
is probably going to play for the Stonecats. He, of course, plays for Port Melbourne. He's on Frankston YCW's list, and depending whether or not Gary Ayres gives it the okay, he will play for YCW. YCW plays Seaford on that day.
Gee.
Yeah. So things are looking up for the Stonecats.
So round 11 will be
Round
the
11.
same week that Ash Eames comes back in. So their big men
Yep.
would be bolstered.
They're gonna have wholesale changes that week. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to have all these guys qualified for finals?
I wouldn't have thought so. I'm not sure of the rules with the VFL guys. But
Well, they'd have to play at least 3 club games and no more than 11 VFL games.
Okay.
Yep. Good to see last week Jackson Soul playing footy again in Bomb Beach's reserves. Now he was the boy that he had some really tough times in April. He was severely burnt in an accident and underwent extensive skin grafts. So good to see him back playing good footy. Of course, he's the son of Kenny Soul.
That's a great story to see how he's on the recovery there, Simon.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I've worked with Jackson a few times as a plumber.
Yep.
Nice young kid, yeah.
Yep. Pearstale, you feel for Pearstale coach Lee Stewart. He's exasperated. He's had enough. He reckons their run of bad luck with injuries, it's unbelievable. He's never seen anything like it. He says it's never ending. But there is good news for the Dales today. They're going to have a few back. Captain Glenn Anderson will be playing today. He's been out with a groin injury. Last year's captain Ben Mitchell will make a return, and they need him back. He's a big, tall,
Big bear, yeah.
big presence. And Ben's brother Tom looks like returning as well.
Is he the Hawthorn?
Did he get a game at Hawthorn this week?
Yeah, that's him. No, it's not him, but they're going to make a difference. Pierce don't need these guys up and about, so they got Crew Point today. So
Well, both sides would think that they're a chance to win.
that's a
that game.
50-50 contest, absolutely.
Yep.
Especially on the back of 2 triple point defeats.
Has Crib Point got their VFL bloke? I know he's kicked a few guys the last couple of weeks.
He's been going well for them, hasn't he? So, yeah, he's a pretty good player, so could be a bit of a shootout down there. But, and of course, Pearstale, still on Pearstale, they're getting close to having a pretty impressive in a few weeks. Of course, Drew Petrie is going to be playing with them.
What game's that against, Simon?
It's against
it
Devon
Devon?
Meadows,
Yeah.
June 30, I believe.
Correct.
Yep. So that's going to be a big day. And, of course,
Massive.
Neil's going to be heavily involved.
RPP match of the day, that
Right.
one, mate. You can tick that in now,
Yep.
fellas. We'll be going to All Roads leading to Pearstale.
Plenty of hot dogs that day.
We'll be talking to him the week before.
What's the
So
quality of the rolls with the hot dogs at Pearstale? Because my understanding is that the rolls at Rye were quite hard.
Well, rumour has it, yes.
I think they're like the buns.
To answer your question, they're soft.
Soft rolls,
Yeah,
yes.
I think they're
So-
like the gourmet buns at Macca's.
All we
Them
know
sort
is
of
that
rolls.
apparently MVOS is entering the World Hot Dog Eating Championships on the 4th of July, and the record is 72 in 10 minutes by a guy called Joey Chestnut. But rumour came
wouldn't
out
have
from the
been
Rye
most-
Ground last week.
Yeah.
They actually ran out of hot dogs before they ran out of anything else. So we'll have a chat to Michael Rayman Voss after the break. and see exactly what's going on there, Tony. So I think they're soft rolls to answer your question down there at Pearsdale.
Well, if he's going to win that challenge, they need to be soft rolls so he can enjoy more.
And that's the week before the World Championship, isn't it? So it's a good warm-up.
So we might have to put the request in for a few
I don't think rolls are part of it. I think it's just straight hot dogs.
Just straight down the...
Yeah.
That's a lot, isn't it? 72 in 10 minutes. So we'll have to...
Well, if there's any bloke that is capable of doing it, our great mate is a real show.
Well, Fossey might be interested in this bit of information. It's food related. Red Hill has landed a celebrity recruit, and they didn't even know it. He's walked in off the street in the last month. His name is Byron Finnerty. He's a handy footballer, but he was pretty prominent in 2014 as a contestant on MasterChef. He's an interesting guy, a very unassuming guy, Jamie Mollo, the Red Hill coach, says. He didn't tell anyone his past, but he's a very successful chef. He's just landed a pretty good job as a chef on the peninsula. He's a really good clubman, been doing everything, been a runner. Now he's got his clearance. He's a former Vermont player. He's now going to be playing with Red Hill. And, just a ripper guy.
That's a great standard of football, Vermont.
Yeah, he can play, but he's a really interesting guy. He worked on a yacht in the Caribbean as a deckhand, cooking. He's been around,
Well-travelled journeyman.
Yeah,
Imagine the gourmet hot dogs at Red Hill now.
Well, Canteen's going to be looking all right, isn't it, down at Red Hill? But something serious. We spoke a few weeks ago about Cranbourne keen to join the NPNFL, and they've certainly upped their cause. They've been given permission to negotiate with NPNFL clubs. So their president, Jerry Kelly, has been phoning NPNFL presidents and pushing their case. And they think they've got a real case to be playing in the NPNFL. They've got great facilities at Casey Fields. They've got varied teams. They've got women's teams, all ability teams. They reckon they're ready to go. They're keen to join.
Yeah, and where do you see them fitting in, Simon? Like, if they were to come into our competition, and look, what I'm hearing is that a lot of presidents don't want it. They're happy. We've had a reshuffle of the competition, and we need to be able to let this competition settle for a couple of years before anything else moves forward. But what are you hearing?
Well, definitely, Jerry, he wants to be playing in Division 1. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But he sees that the NPNFL will have to have 3 divisions for it to work. And he's hopeful that maybe someone like Tooradin might like to come in as well. Cerberus, Skye, South Mornington.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
South Mornington, there's a bit of news on South Mornington. They want to field an under-19 team in the NPNFL next season. Of course, they're in VAFA Division 4 at the moment, but they want to field an under-19 team in the NPNFL just to get the ball rolling, because they eventually want to join the NPNFL with seniors and reserves. So to answer your question,
just you talk about that, Simon. There's enough clubs from Sorrento up to Mordialloc in that bracket, so to speak, that could join in a 3rd-tier division. You got Karen Patterson Lakes, you got Skye, you got Chelsea Heights, you got Mordialloc, all playing in Southern Division, but they could all be part of the Mornington Peninsula. You throw in South Mornington and you throw in Cerberus, then we've got 8 to 10 sides for a 3rd-tier structure.
Yeah, you certainly need at least 8 teams if you want to have a 3rd division.
What about POB?
Peninsula Old Boys, if they want to get out of amateurs.
They seem pretty entrenched. I think they enjoy the...
Yeah. But the $1 million question would be, are they bringing a 2nd team in so there's no bye? Because where do we go with the odd number? If they were hypothetically coming in...
We've had this discussion before, Neil, is that the Peninsula Division has got 10 teams, right? They play each other twice, home and away. It's a fair fixture. You got 12 teams in Nepean, and it's always an uneven fixture. So why would you have an uneven fixture? You get 10 teams out of... so 2 teams out of Nepean will drop down, and there's 2 teams to start with, and all you have to find is another 8. And you have 30 teams in the competition.
Okay, yeah. Well, it makes sense. Three tens, and then, as you said, you've got your 9, and then your back 9. So your 18 rounds of footy, everyone plays each other twice. It's even Stevens.
So, but even to bring... So they want to come over in the first division. Where would they see Turin? Like, it's easy to say we'd like Turin to come with us, but where are they going?
Oh, I don't think they said that. They're not fussed. Look, yeah, Turin are keen to join the West Gippsland competition, to be honest. That's what they want to do. But, they're probably more suited to the MPFL, Turin. They're not far from Devon Meadows and
Not far from
Pearson.
Cranbourne and Pearstone.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
Like
see.
the competition out there, Simon. There's only 8 teams in it now, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Poor old Hampton Park and Keysborough over the last few years haven't been able to be competitive enough.
No.
All those
Definitely
Gippsland
not.
leagues, they're all crashing around too. They're all down to 8 and 6 teams and some of them comps.
Yeah.
That's right. So Officer and Beaconsfield, they're going to be joining the Yarra Rangers next season.
Are they?
They've put their hand up.
Well, gee, there's a lot of life in this story, though, Simon.
Oh, look, things are changing all the time, so we'll see how it pans out. Back on to footy today. Last week, there was a pretty good first gamer for Mount Eliza. Mount Eliza's Alice Springs recruit Dylan Barry. He made his debut and he didn't disappoint. He was an absolute outstanding player for Mount Eliza last week against YCW. Wayne Capp, the coach of YCW, he said he's an absolute gun. He thought he was the best player on the ground by a mile. He said he was everywhere. And
How long's he here for? Simon?
well, this is the thing. Troy Shannon, the coach of Mount Eliza, said it's a work in progress. He's definitely going to be playing more than he first thought, more than Troy first thought.
So he'll play today against Frankston?
Look, I'm not certain. He was a bit coy on that.
It's actually tomorrow.
But he will be playing more than just a couple of games, I believe. So, which is really good for Mount Eliza.
He's on with Casey too, isn't he? I'm not sure.
No, he's not. No, he's not. But he's part of a Melbourne Footy Club initiative to bring down and have a look at Victoria. He's touted as a future AFL star, absolute, genuine. So, but Mount Eliza today, they're going to be getting some good players back. So Mount Eliza play against Frankston Bombers today. But Mount Eliza have got all their Stingrays boys available, and they've got some VFL guys. Now, there's a guy who plays for Mount Eliza, who plays for Box Hill Hawks, and he's been doing really well. Ryan McGannon, he's been playing for the Box Hill Hawks.
Is he the son of Barry McGannon, who played at Edithvale and played in the league back in the...
Not sure, Tone, but look, yeah, we'll have to check that.
McGannon's not a...
McGannon.
Yeah, McGannon.
Yeah.
He played at Edithvale, and then he went down to Fish Creek and bought a caravan park down there.
There you go.
But I don't know. Is he from Fish Creek, that kid, or...?
I'm not sure, but he's a good player, and he's going to make a difference. Lachlan Young made his debut for the Dolphins last week. He could be back today, we'll see. Robbie Turnbull, Ben Landry will be back. Bretton Lambert and Mason DeWitt, they're all a chance to play today. So I think Mount Eliza are going to field a pretty strong side today against the Frankston Bombers.
But last week I looked at the Bombers side. Gee, they had a good side as well.
Big.
Yeah.
You know, Reynolds and Brian O'Carroll were back for them, so I don't think that they could have been stronger either.
It's going to be a cracking game.
I think we've got to wind it up as far as my input goes. But what about this today? The President's Luncheon at Mount Eliza. What a get this is. A lady by the name of Christina Carlson will be speaking. Now, she's one of Australia's top female entrepreneurs. She's got an amazing story to tell, how she turned an idea into a thriving business generating $60 million. She founded a business called Kiki K. It's a retail chain specialising in designer stationery and gifts. Now, there is a Mount Eliza, very big Mount Eliza connection. She's married to a former Mount Eliza footballer, Paul Lacey.
Paul Lacey, okay.
Who's a terrific guy. He was a great cricketer, Paul Lacey, back in the day. And they are kicking goals, these two. They're a great couple. They met at an Austrian ski resort back in the late 90s. Christina followed Paul to Australia, woke up one night at 3 a.m. with no clues where her career was going. She wrote some ideas down, and bang, from that came this business, and it is a booming business.
Do you assume Paul's semi-retired?
He's the CEO of the company. Life's good.
Yes, that's a yes.
But it's an amazing story, and if whoever's at that luncheon today, they're going to really enjoy her story.
She might be a good person to talk to about their new facilities and all that they're working hard to get.
It's going to be an amazing setup when that's finished over
Well,
there.
they-
Yeah, he's a what?
It's a small Casey Fields,
It is.
And the problem with it is that they just don't have a premier clubroom facilities.
Yet.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, but it's still, even if it was to go ahead now, it would be still 2 or 3 years in the making. You know?
Until it gets settled and then...
Yeah.
But that's about it for me, unless you want more.
Well, I think we might just go to a break, Simon, and because we've got a bit to get through on this morning's RPP Footy Show. Thanks for joining us, mate, once again, and we'll be right back after this break. As we said, please remember that we're also streaming on YouTube as well as Facebook, and we'll be back with more right after this commercial break. You're listening to the Footy Show on 98.7 RPP FM.
Here at Bendigo Community Bank branches,
we support local footy.
Local teams and all our community champions.
Bendigo Bank and RPP FM, bringing local footy to the community.
Watch our live telecast on RPP FM. It's live and it's local.
Welcome back to the RPP Footy Show, proudly brought to you once again by the Bendigo Bank. And as we've just joining us now is Rain Man himself, Michael Rainman Voss. Good morning, Vossie. How are you, buddy?
Hello, Neil Sumo Custerson. How are you?
Very well said. Very well said, mate. Now,
And there was a bit of banter in the last segment, Michael, about the episodes of what happened last week at the Rye Footy Club. Now, is it true that the rolls were a bit hard and not as enjoyable as a soft roll?
the hot dog rolls, that is.
They weren't as enjoyable as some others, but no, look, they're a good club, right?
Did that stop you from having multiple hot dogs?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
So you got through those harder rolls to still enjoy a couple of hot dogs.
As best you can. You got to have a pie or a hot dog at the footy blackers. You know how it is.
I know
so.
how it is, mate. It's
Well,
it's
we
the
just want
tradition
to
of-
clarify, as we said, we heard the rumour that the world champion Joey Chestnut, he can divulge 72 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and
mate.
I don't reckon he'd be having those hard rolls either, Vossie. It
They'd
would
be just one after
straight
the
hot
other.
dogs,
Yeah, there'd
wouldn't
be
they?
no rolls.
Bacon and egg rolls, though, on the other hand, that could be something the clubs we could see who's got the best bacon and egg rolls around the place.
All right, okay.
But Vossie, you saw an amazing game. We'll get into that one a little bit later. But
That was a sensational game, the RPP match of the day, Vossie, which we will get to that, mate. But look, Division 1 results, we'll just go through them from the top, which was Sorrento 12-14-86 defeated Edie Aspin, a cracking game, 13-6-84, 2-point winners there. Mount Eliza 13-14-92 defeated YCW, 11-7-73. The Bombers 15-12-102 defeated Rosebud, 8-10-58. The Pines had a massive win, 24-13-157 defeating Bomb Beach 8-6-54.
yeah, bad loss for Bomb Beach, wasn't it?
It was, and in the final game of the round, Mornington 11-6-72 defeated Seaford 9-14-68. I think that
Another
goal
close
was
game.
kicked in the last minute of the game.
Was it really?
So
By Gorka.
same as yeah, exactly. And the same thing happened in the RWP game of the round,
Well-
which was down there at Rye and Sorrento.
Obviously,
Rye and Somerville.
obviously the impressive thing about Aaron Edwards, you touched on before, boys, kicking as many goals as he did, 12, 13, whatever the total was, but they were behind at quarter time and they were 2 points behind and they've ended up winning by 103 points. Like, obviously, there's no secondary issues now with Aaron Edwards' knees. It's all up and up here for Pines. They are just going along nicely with him slotting back into that side. Bongo kicking a lazy 3 as well. They're up and about, Pines, and they're going along okay.
And Vossie, you look back to last year, they were up and about in that first half of the year, and then when Aaron went down, they really lost a lot of energy and momentum.
And structure.
Yeah. So
Well, what a key
let's hope.
position forward that he's a focal point when
Huge.
19 goals in 2 rounds.
Huge.
Gee,
Yeah.
how does that not lift your confidence as a
When
team?
you look up and there's a bloke to kick the ball to, so you
Exactly.
just,
Yeah,
so all of a
and-
sudden you're a lot straighter.
And
Just-
what that result did for Aaron on the weekend just grows his confidence and belief in his own body. You know,
Better
because
stand up,
cause
yeah.
I've never done a knee, like a reconstruction, so you would be second guessing yourself at some stage early on.
Oh, the confidence issues, no doubt, with an injury like that for him would be definitely in the back of his mind. But there's absolutely none of that now. Like 13 goals last week, just an awesome performance by probably the best player, or if not the best player, certainly the top 3 players in the comp.
Which takes us to the goal kickers, which we can. He's come home with the last 2 rounds with just a slingshot. Aaron Edwards is leading the goal kicking competition with 29. Jordan Moncrief's having a very consistent year on 28 from Mount Eliza. Lee Polholke's on 21. Trent Dennis-Lane, who came back in last week after injury, he's still on 21 goals. And Jimmy Freeman, another Mount Eliza man, who's on 20. So, and to the ladder, Sorrento on top with 28, 7 wins, followed by Mount Eliza 24. YCW also on 24. Eddie Asp also on 24. So we've got a logjam there in the top 5. Pines have snuck in the 5th spot on percentage. Or should I say, with a vengeance, mate, they've just come from nowhere the last 2 weeks with their percentage.
I think it's down to 6 sides now, because you look at the Bombers.
And the Bombers are also on equal.
They're right in the mix as well. And
20.
With the result that happened last week with Bombeach, who were on 16 points, I think they're a long distance away from
39%. A game plus 39%. They're
2 games.
Yeah, no.
But just their performance, Michael.
So you're right. It's down
They've
to 6.
only really had the 3 wins this year when you think about it. Like we keep going back to that.
They lost to Edith Farboll 7 goals.
We keep going back to that admin error that they had. So and they're lucky to have got the 4 points out of that, which they did. And your man Spindles is on 20 goals too.
Okay.
Spindle Shanks.
Well, there you go. Spindle Shanks. We'll actually, I do apologise for that, Vossi. As you said, we had the Bombers are in 6th spot, but they're on percentage. So Bombeach on 16 points with the 4 wins, as you've just alerted us to. Rosebud on 10 with the draw. We've got Mornington on 6 also with the draw, and Seaford who have yet to win a game. So
Seaford have won a game.
They've got 6 points, haven't they? They've had a draw too.
They got the draw. That's right. Sorry.
So it really opens up for a cracking second half of the year now for the top 6 sides, and then for the bottom 3.
Well, I think Tony's right. I think Tony, you're right there. That the competition all of a sudden it's going to be those 6 teams will occupy those top 5 positions. So, still it's a log jam, so anything can happen.
The winner of the next week's game between Mornington and Rosebud will go a long way. We're at round 10, so you can't say they're definitely going to be safe, but they're going to go a long way towards. It's going to take a step towards getting or keeping in the competition this year,
and away from relegation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well, as I said, and when you go through those results, we've had some interesting results. And on the back of what Simon McAvoy's just alluded to us with Cranbourne, there's another dynamic going on behind the scenes there with Division 1. So from what he's shared with us this morning, is that Cranbourne are really keen to get into Division 1 next year in the NFL.
No, I just don't think, Neil, that it will happen.
No.
I think that you need to take a breath. We've just restructured. We've had a big... last year there was a big push to try and get the Cefnal clubs in, and we were able to stand and hold the door back. So I think that they just need to take a big breath and let this competition settle the way it is.
I agree with you, Blackers. I agree immensely in that view, because look what happened a few years ago when they decided all of a sudden they're under the MPNFL banner and all of a sudden they go, oh, we're going to go up and make our own competition, all because we can save X amount of dollars and we can run the competition ourselves. Well, now all of a sudden things are going pear-shaped, they're down to 7 sides and want to come back. Well, sorry, Maury, it's just not on at this stage.
Well, I think the big thing is if they eventually do come on, I'm not sure if they can actually sort of say, well, we want to come straight into First Division either. I think those teams that are in there have established themselves.
Yeah,
And,
I think that Cranbourne would be good enough to play in.
I know, I'm not saying they wouldn't be, but I personally believe you win your way in there.
If it was to start, you're what you say, it'd start in Division 2.
Yep.
So does that mean that they would dominate Division 2?
Possibly.
That's the other dynamic. Then are they a super team, a super club coming in at? If it was a hypothetical,
well, if it's that big a difference,
2,
well, I suppose they might dominate. But I just sort of think that the teams that are in First Division, so they're asking to come in to push someone out, aren't they?
Well, I think.
Well, we've got 2 going up and 2 dropping out, back down.
1 and 1.
It's 1 and
1
1.
and
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, but if they're added, that means you've got 2.
But the Premier's coming up from Division 2.
If they go into Division 1, that means you're going to have 2 dropping
That's what I'm saying. They'd go in and someone's getting pushed out for them, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Premier comes up from Division 2, and obviously the bottom side from Division 1 goes down. But then that's not including.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If for the numbers, trying to keep it even, Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Unless they bring,
10's working.
unless you go to 12 and they bring someone with them.
Yeah, but then you've got an uneven competition.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Because I personally think the three was too much. Two.
The changes.
Yeah, I think 2 was fine, but 3, I think Rosebud's gone up already behind Sereno and Frankston, and that's exactly where they are on the ladder now. And Langwarren's come down with already Chelsea and Karingal above them, and that's exactly how it's panning out now as well. So, they've come down with 2 teams already better than them.
Yeah.
And Rosebud's gone up with 2 teams already better than them. So I think maybe 3 was too much.
And Chelsea's probably the side that have been most beneficial towards that, considering they were the side that had 5 wins last year and pushed the Premiers twice last year. And Langwarren, 26 points or something in front at 3/4 time late in the year at YCW. So Langwarren not as beneficial yet, but they've lost a few close ones, which hasn't helped their cause. But they're going, the ladder position says they're going average, but they're going better than that, I think.
I suppose from Rose's point of view, they've gone up, finishing 3rd on the ladder, and then plus there's the whole restructure of their facilities. So they're just not in a great place, as far as off field and lots of stuff go, because they've got a whole new facility being built, so they're getting in and out of portables. Things are different.
If they can get through this year, then up and up for them. A bit like what Karingal have had with their building of their rooms,
New
I
facilities
suppose.
and all
yeah.
that.
So if they can just get through this year,
And it's a draw card
in Division 1
for getting players.
Absolutely.
That's a good point you make there, Kev.
Yeah, well, I just sort of think, as I said, it's I sort of figured that 3 come down in one go, and I know that means if it was only 1, then obviously Sereno or Rosebud still would Frankston or Sereno Rosebud still would have been in Division 2. But it evens out over a period of time. But by trying to even it up too quick,
So you're sort of saying maybe the 2 would have been better than
2
maybe
would have been
another
enough,
one.
I think. But anyway, it's happened. It's happened.
But I reckon Chelsea, they would have been the side that would have stayed up.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea were so keen to get out of Peninsula Division.
There was even talk they wanted to go to...
Yeah, so they were keen.
Yeah.
So for that sake, those 3 sides that have gone down, I get what you say about the 3 sides that went up, but the 3 sides that went down haven't been competitive in Peninsula for a long time.
Do you think, Blackers, we're going to end up, as Simon McAvoy touched on before, do you think we're going to end up, obviously, you want 10 sides, and 10 sides is a perfect fit for Division 2, granted, I 100% agree there. Do you think that we're going to end up with maybe a couple of sides starting in Division 3 next year? Do you think that will happen next year?
Well, I think what they've got to do is have a plan and have a 3 or 4 year plan and go to these other clubs that we've talked about and then go to them and then have a view that in 2 or 3 years or 4 years that they help form a 3rd division in the Mornington Peninsula.
And all these questions can be answered. John Anderson, come in and see us.
I'm sure, actually, if that was happening now, we'd probably have heard something by now.
But it'd be nice for him to
But
come
don't you think
in on the couch and chat to us.
Well, there's obviously there's a lot of life in that story. Just
Oh,
hearing
for sure.
from what Simon just
You
suggested.
want at least a minimum of 8.
He has been ringing presidents to try and get their vote.
Okay, we'll have to watch this space.
Yeah,
As
I
we
know that
said,
for a fact. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an interesting dynamic that they've got to try and make happen.
Someone's
one way
got
or the other.
Someone's got to move a motion, though, if that's
Yeah.
the case, at a league meeting for it to even be discussed. Like, he can ring as many presidents as he wants, but if it's not on the agenda...
Well, they changed the quorum in at 75% now for any changes anyway,
Well,
isn't it?
75%.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Still
saying.
is, yeah.
Like,
so-
someone from either one of the presidents has to bring it up as an agenda item, or the board of directors do. Like, just because he's ringing all the other clubs doesn't mean it's going to become a vote.
Yeah, they updated the constitution, so a quorum.
So he's got to get
has to be of 75%.
He's got to get 75% of people on board, and then I think he would then take it to the board and say, "Look, I've got 75% of blokes." And this is
7 of 9, basically.
I'll be wanting more support than that. I'll be
7 of
wanting
9, 8 of
100%.
10. 8 of 10.
Because I reckon if it come down to the crunch and it was a vote, that it wouldn't get up.
I don't reckon.
I wouldn't be relying on just,
somebody's word.
15 presidents saying they're going to vote for me.
Well, we're going to have to watch this space. Okay,
Yeah.
well, okay. On that note, I think we'll just go to another break, and when we come back, Paddy Swain, the coach of the Pines Football Club, will join us. As I said, you're listening to the RPP Footy Show on 98.7 RPP FM.
Ever thought of yourself as a powerful member of your local community?
As a customer of a Bendigo Community Bank branch, that's exactly who you are. For when you choose to bank with the Bendigo Bank, it triggers a cycle of great outcomes for your local community. Banking with a community bank means your community shares in the bank's income. Your community then decides which projects that income is spent on. So let's make great things happen. Drop into your nearest Bendigo Community Bank branch or visit bendigobank.com.au.
Welcome back to the RPP Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. Well, our next guest who's joined us is a very happy man. He's the coach of the Pines Football Club, and they're in red-hot form at the moment, and we're grateful to have him here on the couch with us this morning. Well, Paddy Swain, how are you, mate?
Really, he's not that happy. He's out of his house.
I am out of my house.
He's got sewage problems.
Yeah,
and he was saying that he was happy.
The footy's going all right. The footy's going all right, fellas, but the home life's not too flash. So,
Paddy, talk us through the game. The quarter time, you're 2 points behind, and then after that, it was 20 goals to 4. So what? So. Where was the turnaround for the last 3 quarters?
Your quarter time speech must have been unbelievable, Pat.
No, I think it was pretty much run of the mill. It was. I actually said to some blokes after the game, you have those days every now and again where everything seems to go your way, and then from an opposition point of view, nothing goes their way. And I sort of felt, and you got to make it happen a bit, but we did after quarter time. There was a lot of things that just flowed our way. They couldn't really get their hands on the ball. I would have thought that they would have been, as a side, been lucky to have 200 possessions as a side.
Was that at Bomb Beach?
At Bomb Beach, yeah. It was a beautiful day. It was a
great day, wasn't
ripping day.
That's a ground that you guys have played really well at since you've been coach.
Yeah, I don't think we've had a draw there, and we've won every other game. Yeah, you're right.
I don't think you have lost.
Yeah. We seem to play quite well there, and I think I said to Blake the other day too, like the Kingston Council has done a great job in that area for what, like the Bomb Beach facilities now are fantastic. The ground is beautiful, so you sort of go there as an opposition, and you're not kicking the dirt, looking down, going, "Oh, how bad's this?" You're going, "Well, this is going to be a great day."
And what about Bomb Beach's side though? Like, they were the grand finalists last year, and now this year they are struggling and probably just about out of, well, not quite, but just they're going to make it hard for themselves in the second half of the year for finals.
Yeah.
Were they missing a few? Like, where were they at on the weekend?
McDonald, who's obviously a massive out, he's missed the last few weeks, and Dylan Jones, the ruckman.
Yeah, the ruckman was out.
He was out, and he'll be out for a while as well. Dennis Lane played, Bo Bailey played, Mitch Gent played, Fisher played, Verma, who's their other VFL player, was at Sandy. So they probably had 3 they would say their best side out.
Yeah. What did they lose in the off-season, Pat?
Tyrrell, I can't think of his first name. Mark Tyrrell has gone, and Ferraro is not there unless he was out injured or sometimes he was suspended.
Is it the Ferraro? No, that's not.
One's at Hastings.
No, I've got the wrong Ferraro.
Yeah,
but they've still got, and I think with that, they've still got a really a good list. But it's just the evenness of the competition, and every game you go into, and you've probably heard it all before, but if you're slightly off, you're going to get rolled. And it's, I mean, you look at YC at the moment. Now YC's not travelling super, and they've still got. When we played them, I counted 14 premiership players in their side. So and about 30 premierships between those 14 blokes. So they've got a really strong side at the moment, even though you can talk about the injuries. But it's just, if you don't turn up ready to go, or things don't go your way on the day, you're gonna be really vulnerable this year.
We spoke about before you got in here this morning. We spoke about structure, and we spoke about when Aaron went down last year, and we spoke about your structure. Obviously, now all of a sudden, Guy Hendry with Bongo and Aaron back, Guy Hendry becomes that third and fourth sort of person in your forward line, and all of a sudden your structure's looking so much better.
Yeah, you're right. And look, one of the things with that is we've played Guy down back for the majority of last year, and then this year we actually lost our ruckman. He went to Kerrang, and then we had to sort of roll the dice a bit, and we've put Daniel John into the ruck, who was like a wingman sort of swing man. And DJ's been playing exceptionally well for us, which then has allowed Bo Henry to go down back, and we've sort of gone into a lot of games thinking, well, we don't really need Guy to be down back, so we've started him down back as a bit of insurance, and then we put him forward. But on the weekend, we just said no, we'll start him forward, and he played. He had a really good day, but I think him, Bongo, and Aaron, they're not only great aerial players, but they're very good on the ground players as well.
Yeah.
They all tackle, they chase down, and if the ball's on the deck, they can still pick it up. So they're not just one-trick ponies.
Saw that in the paper, your comments about your pressure.
Yeah.
How good it's been the last 2 weeks and been your most pleasing aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Paddy as the coach.
Yeah, look, and I think we probably addressed that going into the Sorrento game. And we got beat by Sorrento by 11 points, but we felt that if we were when we really analysed the YCW game in round 1, the pressure of YCW was fantastic. So we've tried to emulate that a little bit. And I think from a pressure point of view, if you've got pressure, personnel is second to the pressure. Like last year, we were vulnerable when Aaron went down because our game was based around ball movement, getting it into a forward who could clunk the mark. And when he went down, we were really, really vulnerable and we felt the effects. I think we lost 3 or 4 in a row, and that took us a while to get back. But now this year, we feel that it doesn't matter what the personnel is, if we bring that level of pressure, the rest takes care of itself.
Now, has the bye come at a good time for your club, or would you be happy to continue playing? Like, obviously, you got the week. It's a split round this round.
Yeah.
And just looking at the draw today, there's another bye, another split round later in the year as well. So probably second week of July, maybe I think it is as well.
14th of July.
Yeah. So
look,
and just the thoughts on the 2 buys as well, because obviously one seems to bit congested having 2 buys, considering Interleague was off a couple of weeks ago. You got a week off, and then there's another one coming up.
Yeah, look, I don't plan the draw, but remember back in the day when we had the Interleague, it was like you had a 4-week series, and you kept winning. You kept having buys all the time. So look, from a coaching point of view, I think it really freshens us up. You can do something different. Like during this week, I went to Casey's training for the 2 nights, the Tuesday, Thursday night. I went to Casey's training, so I sort of get to upskill myself a bit there. The players sort of get a break from the club, the committee get a break from the club, so I don't mind buys. And I think too, it's such a the footy's getting more and more intense, even at local level. The hours that you've got to put in, so it's actually not a bad one to have. Break every now and again, just to clear your head.
And on that, Vossi, I always think that it would be good to have a bye probably 4 weeks before the finals.
Yeah, definitely.
So then everyone has a bye, right? And then it gives people a freshen up, because the biggest games of the year are at the end of the year. So you want to have the best players available.
Yeah, so you want to be cherry ripe for the final series.
I've thought of that before too, and one of the other things, if you want to really build crowds, is if we could structure it so as the junior grand final was, even if we had the week off before finals, and that was your junior grand final, because then you can the juniors is done, and then all the families that can go to actually to watch the senior local finals, because a lot of time I reckon the second semi-final always clashes Father's Day and the junior grand final, and you get not much of a crowd to the second semi-final which is a great game. It'd be nice to be able to structure that so it was a little bit different.
It's a very, very good point you make, because you're right. It is Father's Day every. I think it's the second Sunday in September.
Yeah. And it just always works out that way. But look, getting back to the buys,
a long time, hasn't it?
It has. I think Paddy's on something there.
Getting back to the buys though, they've always like
Father's Day.
When we beat YC, we had a bye the next week, and people said, the bye's come at a bad time because you want to build on that momentum. But no, look, I think if it is what it is, and you know what it is at the start of the year. So we've actually given gave our whole boys the whole week off. So we gave them Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday off, nothing at the club. We had blokes who booked holidays. Some have gone to Bali, some have gone to Queensland. Yeah, just to. It's a great thing just to freshen up. They're all getting paid too much money, aren't they? Now?
I was just about to say, Paddy, you better speak to the club about the match payments.
Yeah. I'm down at Rosebud at the moment because I can't live in my house.
Oh, you're in the caravan park?
I'm in Capel Sound. The Capel Sound sounds very nice, doesn't it? Actually, it's a lovely part of the world. I shouldn't bag them. So, it's quite nice.
It's a great spot. Well, you need to get on a decent plumber in the club. Who's a decent plumber in the club?
Actually, that's one thing we haven't got is a decent plumber. We used to have Matt McKay, but he was I don't think he had his licence. So we couldn't do anything for us.
And Paddy, in other things happening at Pines, Dean Lady's come on board?
Yeah, Dean Lady's been great for us. And look, it's not, I think some people get a little bit over the top and think, he's making moves and that sort of stuff. That's the last thing he wants to do. He's coached AFL, obviously. He's done a lot of not mentoring, but he did like assistant coach at Port Adelaide, assistant coach at St Kilda. So he said, my timing sort of coaching is done. He's doing a bit with the Caulfield Grammar year 12s, year 11 and 12s, bringing them through. But from a mentor point of view, he's just someone I can bounce.
So how did
off.
you get him to the club? What's the connection there?
I think we had some chats with Aaron, obviously because they're still connected through all the past players and that of North Melbourne. So. Yeah, there was a few chats there, and then one of our sponsors deals with him through work. I can't even think what his job is. Something to do with, when they go into companies and they fix them up. If they're not travelling too well. It's been that sort of leading teams type stuff. He does that. So there was the connection there, and then it was just mentioned to me, would you be interested in having a chat with him? I said, yeah, definitely. Like I'll talk to anybody about footy, and just I can learn a lot from an under 12 coach, and I can learn a lot from an AFL coach. So we just talk about footy, and so we went out for dinner, and he shouted, which was quite nice.
Did he?
Yeah, he shouted, which
He must be on the
His
big
rate of
boat.
pay is a bit higher than yours, Paddy. So
I think so. Yeah, so he we had a nice meal out at Toorak, and then we spoke about.
That's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, it was for me. Yeah, we spoke about coaching in general, and I got to ask him some questions. And he, asked me questions, and then so what we sort of mapped out was over a 4 or 5 game period. He would come and I would pick 3 or 4 things that I wanted him to observe. He would do that, give us some feedback, and we'd go from there. So he did the Mornington game, and we played Mornington, and the feedback was great. And I think a lot of the time with feedback, you've got to be able to take it on board. If you get your back up and that sort of stuff, you get nothing out of it. So he gave some feedback to me and gave some feedback to our assistant coaches. And to their credit, they took all that on board, and we've been running with that. So it's been good for me. And I've been coaching for a long time, but it's actually good to get a different perspective and go, that does make sense.
Yeah. That's really good.
In regards to we're just hiking back to the Bice for a sec, obviously you got the 1 week, you got the week off today. Will you venture down? You're probably halfway there already. So will you venture down to Sereno and have a look today?
No, once I duck off from here, I'm heading out with Stella Jackson and a few, and Simon Goosey and that sort of stuff. We're going to the races at Flemington. Just have a nice. We're proper relaxed. Yeah, proper relaxing day. Yeah, and then we might even end up at Etihad Stadium watching the Swans and St Kilda.
I thought you were going to say you'd end up at Beaches. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Well, we could end up there too.
you must be happy with Lockie now that he's back. Because he's had a hamstring injury, Lockie Marshall I'm referring to.
Yes.
Because he was named in your best, and you mentioned Nick Boswell as well as being in your best, adapting to the role in the ruck.
Yeah.
So must be pleasing to have these guys getting back into some form.
Lockie was outstanding for you last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had a great,
really
great 7-8.
Really good. And Lockie's probably indicative of our sort of form line at the moment. It started off a bit slow, and then he's starting to really build, because he'd done the pre-season at Frankston, and then he tweaked his hamstring in their last practice match or against Port Melbourne, I think it was.
Did he make their list?
No, he was probably the last bloke cut.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there'd still be some interest in him, because they can sort of make a few changes as the year goes on. Yeah. So he's really been playing some good football for us over the last 3 weeks. It took him a while, but I think now, there's him, Chewy, we can rotate. Corey Ash can sometimes tag. We put Jacob Boyle in there. And then I think, actually, against the Bomb Beach, we played young Kyle Jacobson. He played inside midfield for the whole game as part of a 4-way rotation. He's a young 17-year-old.
Yeah, so you played 3 or 4 under 19 kids, did you?
We played 4 on the weekend, We debuted a kid, Brandon Lewis, played.
Yeah.
We had Liam Cox, who kicked 3 goals. Michael Bazine, who unfortunately, he's cracked a bone in his foot in that game, so he'll be out for probably 3 or 4.
Which is good, Pat. Because Pines, over the last few years, haven't had great 19s. No. But it's a credit to Stella that's been able to get that many good young kids coming through.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, too, credit's got to go to Glenn Shannon, Glenn Shannon took those boys on for 2 years, and then Stella was his assistant for a year, and now Stella ran with it last year and this year. So we've really had a great success with our 19s in terms of just keeping guys there. We had 12 regular players, I think, the first year I went there, and out of that 12, we've got 9 still playing open age footy. We've got 1 playing at Dramana and 8 still playing for Pines. So I look at that, that's a 75% retention rate.
That's a positive story.
Which is unreal.
Especially with the way 19s and reserves is going.
Yes. Yeah, and then we keep sort of adding to that, and then now, for us to... And it was really good, because Bomb Beach has probably been the other side. I think there was Pines, Bomb Beach, Chelsea, who were always pretty average in the 19s. Going into that game, when we did selection, we actually looked at it and said, we've had a couple of 19s play in the reserves, but we were like, no, we've got to actually make sure our 19s are pretty solid for this Bomb Beach game because they're going really well. So that's a sort of credit to both clubs. And then as it turned out, our boys had a really strong win in that game as well. So I think they might be fifth, our 19s, which is it'd be a long time since the Pines 19s have been fifth. So we're really proud of that.
Absolutely. Is that Glenn who coaches the Tiger Sharks?
Yes, Glenn Shannon. Yeah.
How are they going? Because their home is at your ground as well.
Their home is at our ground, yeah. So he sort of moved into that.
How are they travelling this year?
Oh, I think they've had a win yet. They haven't had a win.
Okay.
Nah, so I feel sorry for
Did you
Shannon.
play for them?
No, I did. I played a couple of games, but they take it too serious. They're off their heads, those players.
Well, they've had a good few seasons because I know they won a flag and
they won a flag with Simon Bishop, who's one of our assistant coaches, won a flag.
And they played against good opposition because there's a number of ex-AFL players played
they had Marsland or something like that.
Yeah, they had a number of them, so that was a great get.
Peninsula Raiders, by the way, Supers and Masters, both top of the ladder. So if you're looking for a game, Paddy, Peninsula Raiders is the
that where
place
you
to be.
play, Vossie?
I wouldn't get a game.
That's right. Go and have a few drinks.
You can commentate it. No, the Super Rules is great, but
bit too serious.
Well, if I'm doing football pretty much 6 days a week, and then I said to my wife, I'm going to go play on a Sunday, she might be a bit disappointed.
Now, Paddy, just in regards to your season, I'm just looking through the games just while the boys were talking there. Your losses so far this year have been 5 points to Seaford, 10 points to Edithvale, 11 points to Sorrento, and there was a loss to Frankston Bombers in there as well. So it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy. Like, you're on the positive side of the ledger now, but when you consider that a couple of those sides not in the 5, a couple of those sides in the 5, you've got yourself up with some games, but you might think you might have been a bit further ahead of the ledger, but still 5 and 4, it's a good place to be.
Sorry to interrupt, but you have a look at those games. There's not much in. There was two kicks in 3 of those games.
11 points, 10 points, and in a couple of those games, and 5 points. So you could have been a bit further along, but you're still ahead of the ledger, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and again, I've harped back to just the evenness of the competition. We sort of go into most games aiming. If it's not in our favour already, we want it to be game on at the 20-minute mark of the last quarter. And if it's game on at the 20-minute mark of the last quarter, then more than likely they're going to go 50-50. You're going to win half and lose half of those. And at the moment, we haven't. I mean, I think we won the close game against YC, but then all the others have been pretty won
on the other side.
Yeah, but all the close ones we've actually been on the wrong side of those. So look, the footy gods will make it work our way at some stage.
And of course, you've got Seaford next week, and that's a game that Seaford's only win so far was against you, Blake. So you basically you want to get one back on them.
Well,
just another opposition. Yeah,
their form early in the year, they were well up on YC at 3/4 time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they probably had their best sides early in the year, and then they've got a few injuries. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say that's right. Look, they got us at a good time as well. I think we had 7 guys out in round 1 that are playing in our side at the moment. So 7, Bongetti, Edwards, Boswell. There's probably 3 of our top 5 who didn't play in round 1. Yeah, we didn't have Marshall.
It's a third of the team.
Waterstone
did his hamstring in the first 5 minutes. So, and I was really proud of our boys to, fight it out, and we got done by 5 points. And Seaford was the better side on the day. But look, we'll have another crack, today, and I think they'll give themselves every opportunity though, because as you said, that's been their only win for the year. They had a draw with Rosebud, so they'll give themselves every opportunity, and we have to, really be on our game.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Well, thank you very much for making time to join us, mate.
Not a problem at all.
We know how busy you are.
We're going to get the steeples and do the team meeting with Stella, and then off we go to the races.
Before you go, how's the Auskick program going down there at Muradoc?
Oh, great. Yeah, great.
Because you instigated that, didn't you? You and Chrissy Sharman got in behind you. And,
Chris Sharman's... The Bombers have got on board now because from the Muradoc Auskick, we've been able to build into a junior footy club called the Muradoc Bombers. And then, so the Frankston Bombers have sort of cottoned onto that, and they've been great. There have been a few training sessions for our kids to go to Sages Road and train there and see what a senior sort of program looks like. Our kids are only under 12s. I think it's the highest up they go at the moment. But they'll work their way through. But, I've been doing phys ed at Muradoc Primary for... a long time, over 15 years, I think. And I think the first year... I took over phys ed. I went around the grades. We had 10 grades, and I said, put your hand up if you do Auskick, and we had 6 kids who did Auskick in the whole school. And then I think by 2 years down the track, when we started the program, we had over 100. So it's just...
That's a great story.
Yeah. Well, if it's close to the school, we did it at school after school, so you had them there already, and then now it just sort of progressed to that. So, yeah, that's another thing we're pretty proud of down there, yeah.
No, you've done well, mate. I know single-handedly you've been front and centre in getting that up and running, so congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
We don't hear the feel-good stories. They're not too...
No,
they're very few and far between about the old AFL these days, isn't it?
Exactly right, but I joke with people. I say I go from an Auskick session to a senior session, and there's not much difference. I'm still going to get them to try and concentrate and deal with a few problems and pick them up when they're not happy. So yeah,
is that the IQ level as well?
And then you get the parents.
yeah, mum and dad.
Yeah.
No, well, thanks very much for joining us today, Paddy. As we said,
no drama.
Gee, you're really flying, and you're where you want to be at the halfway mark of the season, mate. And obviously
bigger and better to go. I've got to rub Blackers because what have you coached 3? Yeah, I've got to rub you and get a bit of your luck. You've been good. Yeah.
So thanks for joining us this morning, mate.
Thank you.
Good on you. Okay, on that note, we'll go to another break. You're listening to the RPP Footy Show right here on 98.7 RPP FM, and we'll be back with Brett Lovett after this break. It's now time to welcome Mason Lockett with the Under-19 report for this week.
Hi, I'm Mason Lockett, back with the Under-19's weekly report. Jumping straight back into the scores last week, we had Mornington 89 defeating Seaford 33. With Mornington coming off an upset, I bet they just wanted to get out and forget about the week they had on the track. So this is exactly how I saw the game going, with Mornington coming over the top with an easy win. Next up, we had Pines 114 defeating Bomb Beach 19. Well, being a player from Bomb Beach, I can say we didn't turn up on the day, and you know it's not a good day when we come off the bench saying, well, at least they didn't beat us by 100. So Pines rocked up expecting us to throw everything we had at them for that 5th position on the ladder, and with all that preparation, with nothing thrown at them, they were able to just run over the top of us in the end, and it was just too easy for them. However though, it won't be that easy next time, Pines, so watch out. Next up, we had Frankston Bombers 138 defeating Rosebud 15. With Rosebud not being the strongest team going around in the league, Frankston Bombers had a pretty easy game this weekend, and they could just run over the top and come out with the easy win. Finally, we had Mount Eliza 64 defeating Frankston YCW 33. Well, Frankston put up a good fight, but Mount Eliza still undefeated. Looks like they're going to be untouchable all season, so that's that. But again, Frankston YCW, just like EDS last week, put up a good fight and kept Mount Eliza to one of their lowest scores all season, so we could see an upset anytime soon, a turnaround. Maybe Mount Eliza are having a bit of a rough patch for the season, so we'll see how that goes. Looking into this weekend, we only have one big game on because Frankston YC Sorrento, they're the bye coming up, so we only have Mount Eliza versus Frankston Bombers. Last time these teams faced off, it was pretty evenly matched. Mount Eliza coming out with a 30-point win, but that's pretty low for Mount Eliza again. But with the long weekend coming up, we could have a few Mount Eliza players going away on a holiday, hopefully, which might give Frankston Bombers the chance they really need to seed out to the end. Now taking a break from the Under-19s, we have 2 major games coming up in the Women's Footy League. Starting us off, we have Mornington Division 1 versus the Eastern Devils Division 1. Both teams coming into this undefeated, you can't really pick who's going to win, so it's going to be a real challenge for both teams. And to make things even better, we have no VFL women's games up on this weekend, meaning both teams are going to be able to take their star players and load up the best side possible. Be sure to get down at Alexandra Park in Mornington on Sunday 2 p.m. to catch this blockbuster of a match. But if you're somewhat of an early riser, unlike me, well, I wouldn't say it's early, midday, 12 o'clock. Mornington also have another game with the Mornington Reserves taking on the Frankston Bombers. Now the Mornington Reserves are also undefeated, so let's see if Mornington have what it takes to go out and stay undefeated for both teams. That's it from me on the report this week. Be sure to get down to the girls' games and support the biggest games they've had yet. Also be sure to get down at 10 a.m. Saturday to support your team's next generation. Now it's time to cross back to Neil and the boys. Thanks.
Here at Bendigo Community Bank branches,
We support local footy.
Local teams and all our community champions.
Bendigo Bank and RPP FM. bringing local footy to the community.
Watch our live telecast on RPP FM. It's live and it's local.
Welcome back to the RPP Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. Our next guest is a former Melbourne footballer who played over 230 odd games for the club, represented Victoria, and also was part of their 1988 grand final team against Hawthorn. And since he's retired, he's been involved at the Frankston Dolphins VFL Football Club as a coach, and he's still involved today as a supporter. And he's here with us on the couch to talk about the Freeze MND campaign, which is on Monday with Melbourne hosting Collingwood. So, Brett Lovett, welcome to the RPP Footy Show. How are you, mate?
Going really good, Yaki. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Now,
What did he call you?
Yaki, that's
Yaki.
my nickname.
Is it?
So, I've had that my whole life. So, for those who
you
know
get
me
that?
well, I actually got that off my mother, believe it
Did
or
you?
not. Yeah, so it's a long story, but yeah, my mother gave me that nickname, and everyone who knows me, that's what they call me by. So, there you go. So, the secret's out now, Brett.
Sorry, mate.
How you going anyway?
I'm going real good, yeah. Yeah,
And,
no, can't complain.
You've a busy man with your football, obviously following your son Jake down there at the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, Dolphins are at YCW
Yeah, or
if he's not
YC.
getting game there. And I also coach the Peninsula Boys School team down there at
Is that the
Peninsula
senior
Grammar.
boys team?
Yeah, senior boys team down there.
Is that what 11s and 12s sort of thing?
So there's a couple of year 10s in there, yeah, but basically year 12s and year 11s, yeah. So it's
Do
an
some of
8-game
those-
season, and yeah,
Oh,
it's a little footy fix. So not so full on, not the long pre-seasons, the long drawn out seasons, but 8 games and hopefully some finals.
Well, you live and breathe your footy, as we all know, Brett, and as you say, part-time, I suppose, because you're running the Mansfield's propagation as well. Give them a plug, mate. How's it all going?
Oh, I don't really like giving them a plug, Yagi, because we're wholesale, so we don't like customers. we only like other nurseries, but it's going really well down there. We employ up to 80 people now. So yeah,
And it's
the
the
company's,
biggest-
company's growing all the time. Propagation nursery with a tissue culture lab in there. So
It's the biggest propagation in Australia, isn't it, Brett? Or
it would be up there with one of the biggest. Yeah,
Yeah.
There might be another one in Sydney that grow quite a few plants. So yeah, it's a good operation, a family
It's a
business.
serious operation, mate. It's a credit to all.
and that
all
started
the-
down one
the family.
Thaggy, didn't it?
Yeah.
Grew-
My grandparents started in Box Hill. Yeah, so my parents shifted out down to One Thaggy farming, but it's sort of grown from Box Hill days down to here.
Yeah, Brett, obviously you come in, we're going to talk about the Big Freeze, but just your old side, they are going along beautifully at the moment. It must, an older player or player as you have, has played over 200 games, must feel great to see Melbourne. And for non-football supporters, I think Melbourne are a really good story at the moment in the fact that they're on the progression, they're going okay. Obviously, they lost one of their key men last week in Jake Lever, but they're going along beautifully, which must please your heart greatly.
Yeah, it's been a long time in between drinks. A couple of grand finals in the last, 40, 50 years. That's about it. So, particularly the last 10 or so years have been quite difficult. So, a slow build. We had a couple of little starts, but pretty well when Paul Roos came in, I think they pretty well started to get their act together from then. And they've really built what I'd say is a pretty good balanced team. They've got some real experience there in Jones and Lewis and Bernie Vince and a couple of others, but also some
Great
really
blend,
exciting
isn't it?
kids. Yeah, so I think you need that. Yeah, if you want to be a consistent team, you need to have that. A good cross section of 200 game players, 100 game, 50 game players, and kids. So I think they're sort of at that stage.
and minimal injuries at the moment, boys, too.
Yeah, no, they've had hardly any all year, so they've been lucky. They've just got to be going at the right time of the year, as we've seen the Bulldogs and Richmond the last couple of years. So don't get too carried away.
It'd be a fairy tale story if we could get a third one across the line in the
Wouldn't
Demons,
it?
Brett.
Yeah.
For Victoria, mate, being Victorian people, I know we all love our footy, mate, passionate football people, and for your team since '64, wouldn't all the roads lead to the red and blue if that was the fairy tale, mate?
Yeah, no, it will be. I know when I played, there were a lot of the guys from the '60s and that were there, on the committees and always there supporting, so that those guys would be getting older and older. So it'd be nice to win one for those guys that sort of our last premiership.
Well, their last month's been fantastic. Like they've really put the sword to a couple of teams. Like
Won 6 in a row.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like, the big wins, though, like the margins. One was over 3 figures, and then, like, the Crows from grand finalists was 90 points. And potential mark of the year, did you see that last week with Harmsy?
No, I don't follow as close as what you do, obviously. But,
well, he's apparently candidate for the mark of the year after last weekend, so...
Yeah, no, they've been very consistent. So yeah, they've obviously got good. You know, they know what they're doing. The good part is that when we come up against the sides that we should win, we seem to be able to win them this year. Yeah, so you know, you're playing against the quality sides, and obviously, you know, you can some you win, some you lose, but you really should be winning the ones you should. And I think that's probably the difference we're seeing this year up to this point.
Melbourne and Collingwood is obviously an institution. It's Queen's birthday. It's an institution, but the overall big thing is what you're here to tell us about, and obviously, and it's all about that right there. It's all about that hat. It's all about what Neil Danaher and the MND fight MND. It's a massive day, and all 18 coaches are going to go down the slide this year. It's going to be a fantastic day.
Yeah, no, Neil's was obviously a lovely fella, and he's got all the contacts there, and you just couldn't not want to help him out. You know, he's been such a great person, a great football person, and I mean all the Danahers have. So yeah, it's great that the whole footy community getting behind the whole thing. The Big Freeze is one part of it, and the other part that we go on as well is the Danaher Drive, it's called. So there's a bunch of cars get together. I think there's up to nearly 100 cars there this year. So get in little groups and just drive pretty well around. I think we're heading up towards Geelong this year, and so yeah, we'll get together and hopefully raise a few funds. I think we raised over $1 million just in the drive last year.
Really?
So,
that's unbelievable.
And what does that involve, Brett? What does the drive involve?
Oh, it's just like a big pub crawl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you really we're pointed in a direction, and as you're going along, you might stop in a town and just jump out and go into a pub, or just walk the streets and just get involved with the local communities.
Do you take tins?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of the people on the drive take auction items to auction along the way. So last year...
have a night, as they do, they sit and have dinner, and they have a function each night as a fundraising night.
Yeah, it's pretty well organised.
From a 2020 game of cricket with Watson?
You
played with Shane Watson. Was that down in Traralgon? Was that the year before?
Yeah, no, that was a bit of a highlight, yeah. So,
is there any sandpaper involved there?
No, I didn't see any sandpaper. No.
Speaking of that, I see the CEO of Australia announced his resignation today. 12 months in the making. So
it's a great cause. You know, Leanne Cusserson and my wife do a great job there, and all the money that we raise towards the fund go to the Positive Move Foundation, which was set up by your wonderful brother. So yeah, if anyone would like to get on board, either donating some goods or coming to the night on the what night is it?
You're doing it for Dickie this year. It's on Saturday, the 21st of July, which is down at the Frankston function centre, I should say. Down there, the Functions by the Bay that's the name of the function centre. It's a fantastic night. Can say from first-hand experience last year, Brett, been there with you, mate, and. Gee, we had a lot of laughs, and there was ice being tipped plenty over people's heads. And
yeah, we've got Russell Robinson there this year. I think he's singing a few songs.
Yeah, so he's going to be the host.
Yeah,
and it's a fantastic night with lots of fun for a great cause. And obviously, you did a great job a couple of weeks ago with you and your family, Jodie, your wife, and as you said, Leanne, and a couple of Leanne's daughters, and Camille and Taylor, and I think your daughter was there as well, and they made. I think you sold $500 worth of these beanies.
Yeah, I sold a couple hundred beanies and raised a few dollars in the tin as well.
Are they $20, $25?
$20 each.
$20
so I think there'll be plenty at the game this weekend if anyone wants to get in there. So, yeah.
And it's a fantastic...
At the YC game or the Melbourne game?
At the Melbourne game, yeah. I think we've actually sold out of the ones that we got. So
I know last year they sold out as well, which was... there's a lot of people supporting this now, and... Gee, how can you not admire the courage that Neil Danaher is showing?
Is this its fourth year?
Yeah.
It's the fourth year that's been going, yeah. I've been on the last two drives, so I just had a great old time. A few of Neil's old teammates, a few of Essendon mates are there. So Paul Vanderhaar, Kevin Walsh, Shane Hurd, and a few of the Melbourne boys get there as well. David Neitz goes along, so he's just been inducted into the...
I was just about to ask you what your thoughts were with your other good mate in Gary Lyon. Yeah. Did the introduction there, and it was a fantastic night over there where he was got his introduction to the Hall of Fame, And another friend of yours in Terry Wallace, mate.
Yeah, no,
a
it
good
was,
mate
it
of a
was a good
positive
night.
move,
Yeah.
and he got across the line as well. So
Yeah, no, all those guys are obviously very well deserved. Great footy people and had wonderful careers. So, yeah, I sent a little message on to Nietzsche, and he's just sent back. Yet, no worries, mates. It was a pleasure to play with you. So that shows you the quality of the person.
Yeah.
That
he spoke so
what
well.
about Terry Wallace? His first, role as a young kid was playing with Don Scott, Lee Matthews, and Michael Tuck.
How's that for an introduction to AFL or VFL footy? How could you go wrong there, Brett? As a just follow the ball, mate. Just follow the ball.
Yeah, no.
You had a run there too
great
at Hawthorn, didn't you? You did some pre-season work in under 19s, and
I
think you won the best and fairest at the 19s, didn't you?
Oh God, I don't know.
Sorry, mate.
I think
Bossy told me that.
Yeah, I hate
He's
talking about
Rain Man,
myself.
mate.
That's why I sweat up when I start talking about myself. But back then it was Hawthorn's owned. Yeah, so I was a Hawthorn to start with, and under 19s and reserves. Not sure whether I won a BNF, but I might have went close. In my last year, I played pretty well all reserves, even though I was able to still qualify for the under 19s. So therefore, they had a good look at me and just felt that I was a little bit slow.
Well,
play footy was a little bit slow, so that was a decision at the time. They were a very strong club, so I certainly hold no grudges towards them, because if you remember back to those teams back then, early 80s, they had very strong teams. So,
well, you weren't the only bloke who struggled to get a game there, because I know the late great Darren Mullane got his marching orders there as well,
did
mate.
He?
So
I
he
know
did
that,
pre-season at Collingwood,
at
Hawthorn.
Yeah,
came back to Dandenong in '84. Came back to Danny in mid '84. He ended up getting two games in the reserves at Collingwood, and then after two reserves games, mate, his first game was against the mighty Richmond Tigers.
Was it?
Yeah, but he did eventually catch up with you, Brett, and he did say that he got that wrong, didn't he?
Yeah, no, it was after the '88 grand final. So yeah, walking out of the rooms, obviously my head was dragging on the ground. Yabby was obviously very pumped up after. I think they beat us by 96 points on
it was
that
a record,
occasion.
Yeah,
But Yabby called me over and just said, "Well played, young love. I thought you went well, and by the way, I haven't got too many wrong over my time, but you proved me wrong. So congratulations."
Well, you were named the best player for Melbourne on the day, so I know it was it's a team game, and of course you're playing for first spot. But when you perform well on the big stage, it's nice to at least. Eventually, when it all settled down, to say, well, I tried my best, but on the day it just didn't go our way.
Greg Williams was slow too, and look what sort of career he had.
Well, he was pretty reasonable, and he reckons he could have won a third Brownlow if he turned up the training. Did you see him on the front bar the other night when he said that? He goes, I had a chronic knee injury that year. I didn't even train.
Was that the year that he had 53 touches and didn't get a vote?
Oh, I don't know, but one of the umpires.
I think that might have been against Melbourne as well.
Wasn't he going to sue the umpire or something? I think there was a bit of a story there where he was going to...
And he got nine weeks for doing that, and that's 9 weeks.
Speaking of that, what's your thoughts on where the game's at, Brett, from your time in the 80s and the 90s, mate, where today, where it was semi-professional then, mate, where you were still working at Mansfields and having to go in there to train, as opposed to now where it's a full-time job and the guys eat, sleep and breathe their football?
Yeah, well... I'm not sure. I mean, I still love watching the game. I do enjoy watching the games from our era. It's nice to see the game probably a little bit more open. It's fairly crowded and all that sort of stuff at the moment. But I'm still coaching in it, and if you want to be in the game and coaching and playing it, you've got to move with the times. So that's the way footy's played. It'd be nice for it to open up, a little bit more and get back to having the old big full forwards up there and being able to kick the ball out that way.
Well, we obviously evolved back as we do from the circle seems to repeat itself, history repeats itself, where we might get back to a brand of footy where it's more about having a full forward who can kick, 60, 70, 80, even 100 goals in a season.
Yeah, hopefully it does. It seems to have taken its time this way. I think because they're full time, it just gives them so much opportunity to train it and to work out how to beat opposition. And the defensive part of the game's always been very important, but it's sort of super important now. So hopefully it will involve. They may need a few tinkering with the rules, even though I'm not a big one on wanting to change it too much. But hopefully there'll be a brave coach out there that goes back to plonking a few players as Geelong did last year. I think when Dangerfield might have been a little bit injured, he played a game starting full forward.
Yeah, kicked 6 goals.
So it might just take a brave coach and certain situations for it to go back that way. But it'd be good. I think, for all, because it allows for the slower, bigger-bodied bloke to probably still play league footy. Where at the moment, if you can't run up and down the ground and aren't an athlete, it probably makes it a bit more difficult to be drafted and to play the game. So it's I think very important that that anyone big, small, slow, fast, all get the opportunity to play.
They get the chance to play footy.
Also on age as well. Like look at last week with Brody Mychek from Collingwood. He was nearly 26 years of age, made his debut. David Mirror, 27 years of age this year.
The Brisbane fellow.
And it's not just you're not just talking big, tall, short, fat, slow. You're talking age as well, Brett.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, in recent years they seem to be looking at more mature aged bodies and recruits. So that's been very good for the VFL competition and even for the local boys. If they even at 22, 23, they may have been dropped off a list, a TAC Cup list or the VFL list. But a couple of years of local footy, and all of a sudden, they decide they want to have a fair dinkum crack at it. So, it's great that the recruiters are looking down that path and. Gives those kids an opportunity.
And one final question with your beloved Dolphins. You must be rapt to see them back in the VFL competition, Brett.
It's certainly not only for the Dolphins but just for the whole
community. Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great kids here, talented kids. So, it's far enough to go from Sorrento all the way up to Frankston, let alone from Sorrento to Casey or Sorrento to Sandringham to play a game of footy and get a chance to sort of live your dream and all that sort of stuff. So to have them back's fantastic. Gary Buckenara is doing a great job in there. Mick O'Neill was part of the coaching committee and sort of helped with the recruiting sort of things early days. I've sort of taken a bit of a back seat now, but
Adam's doing a good job. Adam Scravelak, the senior coach.
They've had 2 good wins.
Yeah.
And, the win against North Melbourne the other day beat Box Hill quite convincingly.
I think at the start of the year, if we had, coming back into the competition, to have 4 or 5 wins, I would say would have been a really good result.
Considered, you reckon they're on track?
Halfway, pretty well on track. And, against North Melbourne, who obviously are a standalone AFL reserve side. So,
and there's also
all good.
One more thing just before you go, just reminded me with Dipper's coming back down. The fundraiser for cancer with Gary Buckenara, you've just mentioned him. That's on Wednesday, the 20th of June. So there's a luncheon down there, and all funds raised are going to go to cancer.
Yeah.
So there's another good cause there. They have, is it Friends in Business?
Yep. There's a business luncheon.
Yeah, the FIB.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So they're trying to get that. I know Osterfield was been doing great stuff last year with guest speakers.
Yeah.
They had John Longmire. They had Lee Matthews.
That's right, yeah.
And I think the Bulldogs coach.
Yeah,
Luke Beveridge, he
came
in for a chat as well. So Paul Hudson was another one. Yeah. So they're doing great things down there at the Frankston Dolphins Football Club, and they need your support as well. So, Brett, thanks for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best, mate, not only with the Freeze MND, which is number 4 this year, as we all know, on Monday at the MCG, where Melbourne will play host to Collingwood. All the 18 senior coaches in the AFL will be going down the slide, if you didn't know. And then there's the Danaher Drive later in the year in October. So for anyone who's interested, if you go to the website, all the details will be on there. It's a great cause. We've got a great man here who's driving it down here on the Mornington Peninsula, and Brett Lovett. Thanks for being our guest this morning here on the Footy Show.
Thanks, boys. No worries.
And on that note, we'll take a break and we'll come back with Jamie Molo from the Red Hill Football Club. You're listening and watching the RPP Footy Show right here on 98.7 RPP FM.
Here at Bendigo Community Bank branches,
we support local footy.
Local teams and all our community champions.
Bendigo Bank and RPP FM, bringing local footy to the community.
Watch our live telecast on RPP FM. It's live and it's local.
Okay, welcome back to the RPP Footy Show. Once again, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. Well, our next guest has joined us by mobile phone, and he's in his first year up at the Red Hill Football Club as the senior coach. And they've got a big challenge today against Romana, and he joins us now. Jamie Molo, welcome to the RPP Footy Show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
How you going, mate? I know you've had a busy morning, so obviously you've got plenty to look forward to today, mate, when you've got a big game against...
It's tomorrow, Neil.
Oh, beg your pardon?
Sunday, standalone game.
Beg your pardon, it is too. Sorry, mate, I'll take that back. You're hosting Dramana tomorrow.
Yeah, we are. Obviously, they're the yardstick of the division at the moment and travelling really well, undefeated. So it's a good challenge for our boys and a real test to see where we kind of stand at the moment. So it'll be a good game.
And Neil, both sides really play well against each other. Last year, Dramana obviously are a good side, but at home, Red Hill love that open space, and Sunday's going to be a lovely day as well. So it's going to be a great day for football, and hopefully a big crowd can get there.
Yeah, big crowd, big ground, and it's going to be a cracking game. How have you settled in at Red Hill, Jamie?
Yeah, really good. I mean, the players are fantastic, and the people, the new president Graham has been really welcoming, and and the rest of the committee. So yeah, people are fantastic, players are fantastic, and yeah, just sort of finding my way at the moment, 8 rounds in, and yeah, but the boys have been really welcoming, which has been good.
And for those of our listeners who aren't aware of your history, you're actually a former Frankston Dolphins assistant coach, and you've also been in the TAC Cup. I think you've been involved with that for a number of seasons as well. Is that correct?
I was early on with TAC, and then I went to Frankston, and I was there for 4, and then I was Oakley in the amateurs. So for 4 years as senior coach. So yeah, it was a good. The senior coach role at Oakley was a good eye opener into a senior role. So really enjoyed it, and sort of had success last year, which was good with making the finals and with a really young side. So yeah, sort of led me to where I am now, I suppose.
And it's great that Chris Irving's back for you, mate.
Oh, he was. Yeah, it's been frustrating for us, or him as much as us, and he sort of played Langy, only lasted a quarter, did the hammy, and then we kind of just said to him, let's just set it right so we make sure when we get you back, it's for the long term. So he's been really good, and he's been training really hard and doing all the rehab really hard. And again, on the weekend, he just, as you know, he just straightens us up so much. So, and yeah, so he was fantastic against Pierce. They were doing all the little things really well.
Jamie, the Red Hill side the last probably 3 or 4 years has been a side that hasn't scored big, and you probably haven't scored that big this year, but you hit the jackpot last week. 21 goals last week and over a 100-point win to be second highest percentage, I think, in the whole competition. So things are looking okay for your club at this stage.
Yeah, I think we've always been pretty strong defensively, and I think at the moment we're number 1 in that area. So we've kept that group pretty, consistent down the back there. So they've got a real good synergy between each other, but forward-wise, we're just playing a different kind of style where we're playing that fast branded, free-flowing, trying to come forward really, really hard. So, and yeah, we've been able to get on the scoreboard with a few blokes that probably didn't as much last year with Sean Marchetti playing a lot more forward rather than midfield, and John O'Ross the last few weeks. So it's been good, yeah.
It has been. You've had, sorry, Kev, for cutting you off there. Just alluding to what Michael said, Jamie, I've noticed this year on more than one occasion you've had double-figure goal kickers in 10, 11 and 12 separate players. So I think that's part of the question that Michael was asking as well, that you really seen this year.
A lot of avenues.
You've had, where Red Hill in past seasons where they've been very, very strong in defence and kept lower type scores, haven't you, for tallies to the opposition, whereas this year you seem to have a number of avenues to goal, which must be very pleasing. Having multiple goal kickers.
It is. We're trying to be really hard to play against. So if we've got a good spread of goal kickers, it makes the opposition have to think. So yeah, that's we sort of went in with a plan to try and have a good spread of goal kickers. So yeah, it makes it hard for the opposition.
With the games that you've lost, Jamie, and you've obviously had that draw as well, like with an ounce of luck, you could possibly be undefeated with Dramana, and realistically, you'd be looking forward to tomorrow's game with a fair bit of optimism, I would think, bit of confidence.
Well, we are, yeah, and the games we have lost have come down. The Kringle game came down to a turnover and a late kick by them, and they scored, and then the Langy game, with the draw, we had a shot after the siren. The Chelsea game, which was round 1, yeah, we just I think it was the third quarter. We just allowed them to score probably a couple of goals too easily off turnover, and so we're pretty. We're without being complacent. Now we know if we play our best 4 quarters, we can stand up against any side.
Like Paddy, sorry to interrupt, Vossi. Like Paddy Swain said, as the season goes on, you hopefully find that at the second half of the year, those close games go your way.
Yeah, he did say that. That's a good point.
Yeah, so Paddy, and obviously you've worked closely with Paddy, Jamie, that he just said, eventually the wheel will turn, and those closer games, more often than not, they just won't keep going that way.
Bossy?
And here you go. Go on, Jamie.
I hope so. I mean, with a guy like, we just needed someone in those games to kind of stand up and take it by the scruff of the neck. And I think with Herbo being out, he's a type that can do that. So we're really happy to have him back in to kind of add that layer of experience to us, which is good.
Now, Jamie, it's round 9 this round. You're playing against a side, Dramana, who are undefeated. They are flying along at the moment. Where do you see their strengths, and where do you start sort of planning of how you're going to bring Dramana down?
We've got to throw something at them that's different to what they'll be looking at on the videos from our previous games. So we know they've got a really strong defence. They like to run the ball. They play that quick brand of footy similar to what we do. They've got a pretty potent forward line with talls and smalls. So, and the recruits they've got have been pretty good from this year. So, we believe just across the board we have to have 22 blokes willing to play their role, have their moments, and if we do that, I think we can get hold of them. But it'll be a tight game and a tough game.
Absolutely. It's going to be a cracking game. We've actually got 2 cracking games in Division 2 tomorrow, Jamie. We've also got Kringle hosting Somerville, so going to have a couple of big games in Division 2 tomorrow, mate. So, well, good luck for the game tomorrow, mate, and we appreciate your time this morning. And as we said, all the best for the second half of the season, mate, up there at Red Hill.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, and appreciate the support.
Good on you, mate, and we'll catch up with you. We'll catch up with you soon, mate.
Good luck, Jamie.
That'd be great. Thanks, Blake. It's good to speak to you.
Cheers, Jamie.
Good on you, mate.
See you guys. Bye.
On that note, we'll continue through with the Division 2 results from last week, fellas.
Yeah, on that game, I think that last week, with the way Langwarrin played, it just showed that, you can't maintain that high level for the duration of the game. I got a feeling today that Red Hill will upset them.
You will.
It's great that Dramana have won 8 in a row.
They're due for a loss.
Yeah, that's what I.
They won't do many harm.
And on that ground up there last year, they were in it, but they just weren't able to get over the line. So.
And if they do get through this game, Dramana, they do have Crib Point at home, Tyabb away the next 2. So no disrespect to either of them 2 sides.
They won't beat. They won't lose to them.
They won't lose to them. So if they get to 9-0, they'll get to 11-0 without too many issues, I wouldn't have thought.
I'm hearing you there. Well, we'll just go through the scores from last week, because we've had some cracking results again where Red Hill, 21-13, 139, as Jamie's just alluded us to, defeated Pearcedale 4-10-34, so that was a 105-point win there. Then we go down to Kringle, 11-13-79, defeated Tyabb 7-6-48.
Good effort by Tyabb.
Good effort. Yeah, they were gallant.
Yeah.
They were gallant, mate.
Actually, through the week, Neil, I went down and my great mate Andrew Brady, he coaches the under-19s at Tyabb, and I went down there and they had took training for the under-19s because they played Devon Meadows this week.
Okay.
And they had 23 young kids on the track on a Tuesday night.
That's a terrific effort.
For a side that hasn't won a game, I think it's a wonderful effort that those young kids are still committed.
That's a good effort. Like there's obviously a bit of determination and
yeah. So I don't know, Neil, whether it was because I turned up or they had pizzas after training, right?
Okay, well, we'll leave that for the viewers.
So I was hoping it was because I turned up.
Yeah, well, of course it was.
I think half those kids played for Hastings. They heard Blackie was going, so they went up there too.
They wanted some free pizza. Good pizzas too. Good pizzas, La Lupa.
La Lupa, good pizzas.
Good pizza. Good club sponsor there too.
Yeah.
Long time sponsor. Good on you.
Sponsor our boys too.
Why'd you look at me then, Neil, when you've mentioned about pizza?
Sorry, Bossy. Well,
I tell you what, Bossy, I don't reckon you'd eat 73 of their pizzas.
I must come down to Tyabb one night and try. Never tried them.
Okay.
Mate,
Bossy,
you don't
the
know what
next
you're missing.
time after the game, we're going to the Looper.
Oh,
we're getting
mate.
you a pizza, mate.
Oh, beautiful. I'll
So,
look forward to that and you'll shout.
I will shout you that pizza,
Beautiful.
no doubt at all. They're very good pizzas. Chelsea, 16-18, 1-14. Continue on with their good form this year, fellas.
Yeah, and
defeated Crib Point.
And Cribby wanted to
4-7-31.
be more competitive, didn't they? They wanted to, after that win, they wanted to be more competitive.
Well, when you think about coming up today against Pearsdale, as we all said, a good effort.
Yeah.
With a bit of momentum and maintain that momentum. And then obviously from there, being a 50-50 contest on their soil,
yes,
home game, they're the ones that you want to hang on to and
That's
win
right.
when you're obviously struggling.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting game today. Dramana, as we've just alluded everyone to, top of the ladder, undefeated, 9-15-69, continued on their merry way, as you mentioned, against Langwarrin. Very gallant.
They only kicked 9
very
goals
gallant.
last week.
7-11-53.
So Langwarrin did well to keep them to 9 goals, but they still won, and they kept Langwarrin goalless in that third quarter.
Dramana kicked 3 goals, 12 in the second half.
Yeah.
But was still good enough to win.
Oh, well, sitting on top of the ladder, mate, they're good enough to win every game.
They're a good side, don't get me wrong.
They are a good side.
But I look at Red Hill. Red Hill's got a very good list.
Yeah, well...
Chris Irving makes a huge difference to
He's
that
a star, mate.
He does.
He's a star. He does make a big difference. And in the final game, Kev's Mob, Hastings, 16-16, 112. Defeated Devon Meadows at Devon, 9-10-64. Always a tough day out there.
But a good win for you too, Kev, to kick 16, had 32 scoring shots.
Yeah, it was a good win. The thing was with Devon, like it's for whatever reason they really put up a fight out there, and halfway through the third quarter, I think it was 8-9 our way, and then then we've had a massive
That's a good win.
last quarter and a bit to win by 8 goals. So it was a good win. We lost Foster early in the
Shawnee
game.
you were saying off.
Yeah, he's going to miss probably 4 to 6, I would imagine, with broken ribs.
Serious,
yeah. So he collapsed on the walking off the ground. So trainers did a fantastic job to sort of keep him stable till the ambulance arrived. So that was all good. But he's sort of in good spirits now. I was just going to miss a bit of footy.
Hopefully, if you're good enough to make finals, which I think you guys are, he'll be back. He'll be back for those.
We've got to
later in
keep
the year.
winning
Back for the
games.
business
Well, you got to
end of the
keep winning.
season.
That's right. And but anyway, if we at the moment we've had a win and see what happens this
On
week.
that note, you're back in fourth,
Today.
mate, which is where we all expected Hastings to be at the halfway mark of the year. We've got Dramana, the ladder. Dramana on top in 32 points. Undefeated. Kringle in second spot on 28. Hastings, as we've just said, Kev's team, they've jumped up to fourth with a couple of good wins in a row. Red Hill on 18 with that draw. They're sitting in fifth spot. Very, very good
2
percentage.
points clear now.
Very, very good
so
percentage.
percentage
too.
is not going to come into it with Red Hill.
No. Well, as
unless it's competing with Langwarrin.
Well, exactly. Well, Somerville are on 16. They got out there with Rye, who are also on 16. So that was a big game, wasn't it, with the old Scotty Beale factor there, isn't it?
The 8-point game.
So they've been brought back. So they're
closed
even.
it up.
Yeah, they've closed it up.
Ryan
so.
lost their last 2 games by 1 goal each, by a single goal each, 12 points. In
Well,
their
we
last
listened
2
to that
games.
last quarter, mate. And it was
Who did they
that was
lose
a
to
cracking
before
game.
that game?
Hastings.
That last quarter.
And then they just beat Red Hill by
2 points.
That was one of the best calls in the last quarters, Vossi, with you and Adam, which was fantastic to see him and Lockie Kelly back on the RPP Airways calling the footy, mate. And
I did say,
well done, all three of you.
Thank you, Neil. I did say 7 minutes in the last quarter that the game was over.
when they kicked that first goal.
They went 28 points clear. They were 14 points up. They kicked the first 2 of the last quarter, right? 3 players down, admittedly, from halfway through the second quarter. But I did say the game is over, and of course, egged on by the Kellys beside us, and egged on by the Somerville crowd outside. Look, it happens. Not the first time, won't be the last. I'll put my kahunas up again. Don't worry about that. That's fine.
Yeah, you didn't.
Big
sit on the
coconuts,
fence.
aren't they, Fozzie?
Oh, you've been watching me elsewhere, have you, Blackers?
Okay. On that note, we'll go through the goal kickers. So we've got Jess Murphy. He's still leading on 33 at Langwarrin. Curtis Bywater having a good season. He's 32, continued on his merry way. Lukey Hewitt, great story, sitting in third spot on 27 from Hastings, coming back from a serious leg injury. Billy Rolfe, 26 for Somerville. And Ethan Johnston from Dramana, he's also equal on fifth spot with 26 goals. So been through the ladder as well, fellas. Just before we go today's games, in Division 2, we've got Tyre hosting Devon Meadows. Your thoughts on that one, Kev?
Geez, I really think Tybe's in with a massive chance,
It's
to be honest.
It's a 50-50 game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely 50-50, and I think Devon don't travel as well away from home. Tybe, great effort against Kringle. Like Kringle's clearly up there as one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the comp. They've only gone down by 4 goals last week.
Yeah, that was a gallant.
I might just go with Tybe for a chance to get their second win at home.
Yeah,
Yabs every chance.
I'm going for the Yabbies.
Yeah, and Vossi?
Every chance. Look, I said last week Devon was shizing away from home. They need to come with the right attitude today. If they don't, then the Abbeys will get them. And the Abbeys a big chance to get their second win on the board. And whilst we're not degrading Devon Meadows as a side, it'd be great to see Tybe win their second game. It really would.
Well, they've been gallant this year. They've improved vastly.
Did you play
Tybe
at Tybe?
Tybe at Tybe,
yeah, they did. So, Crib Point hosting Pearsdale. I think that's a 50-50 contest, fellas. Vossi?
Look, I think that Crib Point might even have half a sniff here, to be perfectly honest. Depending on what we've seen Jekyll and Hyde from Pearsdale, obviously, depending on who they've had available. They've beaten Langwarrin. They got thumped last week by Red Hill.
That was a bad loss last week, wasn't it?
They've had 2 bad losses, mate.
Yeah.
200
But
points.
you see, they've got a couple of guys back today.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it really. I think if Crib Point's got their VFL player, I can't pronounce his name, but he kicked 5 in their win.
Number 5.
5 in their win the other week over Devon, and I think he's kicked another couple on the weekend.
Yeah,
I think he might have kicked most of their goals against Chelsea. So yeah, it's something like that. He's just a Kiwi boy.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, number 5.
So if he plays, they're probably obviously a really good chance because they've still got obviously Harrington and
he's playing well off the back flank.
Yeah, the Cooks. So they're going well with their regular blokes, and I think when this guy comes in, he just gives them a bit more of a bite around the ground. So if he's playing, I'll go for Crib, but if he's not, I'll probably go with Pearsdale.
Right, Chelsea, Kev. Rye v Chelsea at home again.
Rye have to win, don't they?
Rye have to win if they want to stay in touch, but
another cracking game.
At this stage, I'll probably stay Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay, Vossi.
Chelsea.
And Hastings, Kev's mob are playing Langwarrin, hosting Langwarrin down there at Hastings.
Langwarrin won't be an easy beat, but Hastings will get the job done at home.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, obviously with Foster out as well, and Langwarrin's footy ground is probably similar size to Hastings, so the ground won't make any difference.
Them, is it?
It's not going to bother them, so probably just have to work on the theory that we've been going okay, and hopefully we keep going okay.
Once again, very important game for Langwarrin.
Oh, these are cracking games.
Yeah.
And the 2 tomorrow.
Well, Langwarrin need to win to stay in touch, and probably Hastings have got a fair hard draw in the last half a dozen weeks, so Hastings really can't afford to drop a game today.
Okay, and tomorrow's big week. They've got 2 big games tomorrow. Kringle versus Somerville.
Kringle at Kringle.
Okay, so all Kringle, and then, as we said, Red Hill hosting Dramana.
Yeah, look, I think Dramana's form's been outstanding, but I think that up there on a good day, Red Hill might just surprise them.
Dramana for mine.
Look, I'm going with Red Hill too. I think they've had a lot of close losses, and I'm not sure the competitions is that bad that one team can just win every week.
Okay, no, that's a fair analogy. Kevin, and what about for Division 1? We've got only 2 games today. We've got the bye for the rest of the round. So we've got the RPP match of the day, which is Sereno hosting YCW. So that's going to be another close tussle. Vossi, so you're heading down there. Who are you going to support?
Look, I'm always a Stone Cat man, but until I see the Stone Cats get back on the bike with their team, I've got to pick Sereno. I can't go against Sereno at home. They are a super side at home. They're a pretty good side away from home too, but they are just a super side at home. They don't lose too many. I think they'll win today.
Okay, Kev?
Yeah, Sereno for me as well with their annual weekly luncheon. So there'll be a big crowd there, and they'll be all out in the balcony in the game singing "I Do Live Beside the Seaside" with Chardonnay in hand.
I do, yeah, and I think Sereno will win.
Kev's got it in a nutshell, mate.
They'll get their name up on the shield, the Andrew Kelly Shield.
It is
that's
too.
right, yes.
Yeah.
Well said, mate.
Yeah, so they'll get their name up, and it'll be 1-1 after tomorrow.
And Lockie and Adam will be back down there to present that after the game along with you, Vossi, calling the game with you today.
Yeah, they will be there to present it, and it's going to be a massive crowd there today, and let's just hope that there's a nice route to get down there, because it's going to be a difficult old drive getting down there. I'm thinking at 12 o'clock today, but nevertheless we'll work through it.
Go down Melbourne Road.
And just as we wind up, fellas, Mount Eliza hosting the Bombers. What are your choices there, Kev?
Cracking game. It was obviously a great game the first time around, and
6 points first time around.
Yeah,
Kev.
and the Bombers are going well, and Mount Eliza's obviously going well too. You know, two top sides, and geez, I might just have to stick with the Mounties at home, I think.
Yeah, hosting.
Talk about 8-point games. This is an 8-point game, Neil.
Oh, this is an absolute cracker.
24 points Mount Eliza and 20 points Frankston.
You're right.
Mount Eliza win, they're out by 8 points.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the old Scotty Beale factor there, mate, where the Bombers are sitting in 6th on 20.
Yeah, the Bombers win and they need
The Bombers are playing great football.
Yeah.
You talked to Simon early on in the program. There was a lot of good ins for Mount Eliza. With that in hand and at Mount Eliza, I think their form is just get them over the line.
Okay.
I think
a cracking
the argument
game.
can be laid that Frankston probably should have won the Good Friday game that they played this year against Mount Eliza. I think that Mount Eliza will win, but as Black has touched on, it's a massive game. All of a sudden, if Frankston win, then all of a sudden we've got sort of sides log jammed on sort of 24 to 28 points.
Well, you can throw a blanket over him, mate. But on that note, we're out of time once again. Thank you for your support this morning, whether you've been listening or whether you've actually streamed in via the Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope your team wins. Have a great weekend, and until next week, from all of us here at the RPP Footy Show,